Hello and welcome to this new video where we'll be showing the effects of the ongoing optimization work that SOE is doing. So this footage is from the public test server, and if you look at the lower left corner you will see that I have zoomed on the frame per second counter. So this first sequence here is taken at Crossroads Watchtower. It's mostly outdoor fights. Not the biggest fight I've been in, but decent sized fight. You can see that the frame counter down there is oscillating between 40 and 60 frames per second, maybe. So compared to what I used to have on live, I think that's more or less in the same area, maybe. It's possible that the maximum, in the best case, is a bit higher. I might have gained maybe 10 frames per second in this situation, for instance here when the counter is at 60 frames per second. I don't think I had that in many situations before. That being said, it still goes down to pretty low levels sometimes. As low, but not much lower than 30 frames per second, as I've noticed. Maybe I should say a few words about my hardware configuration. I'm playing with on a Core i7. It's an old one at 3 GHz, and the graphics card is an NVidia GTX660. So not the highest, the most powerful playing setup you will find, but it's a decent one. At this point I'm now going to move to a larger fight into a Biolab. So initially we were trying to get in through the landing pads, and that was not very easy. It's a lot of fire, friendly enemy fire. It's difficult to get through this tight opening there. Here, as you can see, the frame rate is oscillating between 30-50 frames per second. It's CPU bound. I tried to get in at some point, but with two people shooting at me at the same time, it's too hard. So here I'm keeping the tape, so to speak, rolling in, because the next sequence is going to be interesting. Since I cannot get in on this side of the Biolab, the northeastern side, I will try on the other side. So I'm dropping on the Biolab, on the dome, running across it. Here again, frames per second is oscillating between 30 and 45 frames per second. So this is interesting here, because when I land on this landing pad, there aren't many enemies there. There will just be two enemies, basically, one NC and one TR. The NC is here, and he gets me because there was a slight little hitch or stutter here in the animation, and I couldn't adjust my aim. It was a bit frustrating to lose this encounter, largely because of this. So the next one, in this case, is going to be a massive max crash into the Biolab, and rendering lots of characters on the screen apparently is not a problem. Frames per second is decently high, 50 frames per second, CPU bound. It's a full platoon that's almost full. It's preparing to go in there. So that would be about a little less than 48 players. There are some randoms in here as well, so it might be more than 50 players. Everybody starts shooting, the frames drop to 30 frames per second. I don't know if this is because of all the particle effects when the bullets hit the roof, the ceiling here, or if it has to do with heavy collision detection computations. If it's a particle issue, it might be that enabling physics might help. I couldn't enable it in the on the test client. I don't know if they disabled it or if I have to do something in my system to make it possible to enable it. It was great in the configuration screen. Now inside the Biolab itself, it starts pretty well, 45, 50 frames per second, dips at 30 sometimes. And it's going to remain more or less at this level for the entire duration. So I'm going to let the video go on. You might be interested to looking at the frame rate as things happen around me. But basically it's the frames are going to remain at a level that you can see here, around between 30 to 40 frames per second, with sometime a dip towards slightly below 30, like 29, 28. So this is not a big change compared to what I experienced before, I think. I would have to try on the live server again to really confirm that feeling or not. But it's not, if you were expecting that you will get a consistent 60 frames per second in all situations, I think this is maybe not very realistic, at least not on the kind of hardware that I'm playing on. Could be that if you're playing at an overclocked CPU at 4.4 GHz, that would be what, that would be 50% more gigahertz that I'm playing at 3 GHz. So 50% more frames. If you're playing at 30 frames per second, that might give you a pretty solid 45 frames per second minimum in a Biolab. So that's not too bad, I would say. I'm personally quite happy to have 40 frames per second in very large fights. I think 30 is where I start noticing that I'm starting having trouble to aim. Also, I'm sorry if I apologize if there's no sound, in-game sound. Unfortunately, I had stopped playing PlanetSide for a while. So when I re-downloaded the client, the test client, I lost my configuration for the sound, and I was playing with the sound, of course, but the recording didn't take the sound in, and I didn't notice anything, of course. So I was really looking forward to this optimization phase. I didn't really have any big issues with it before. I was fairly happy with the frame rates, though I wouldn't mind having higher frame rates, of course. And when SOE announced that they were going to focus on the optimization, I thought that was a very good idea. But I decided to stop playing, not because I didn't like the game anymore, but because I wanted to take a break and come back when the game would be running in a more with a smoother frame rates. I must say that I was having hopes that maybe I would get 60 frames per second all the time. Maybe that wasn't very realistic. So I'm both a little bit, how could I say, slightly disappointed. On the other hand, I understand that it's difficult to achieve it at a fully smooth 60 frames per second. And to be honest, I don't really need it. It's more of a convenience thing, a comfort thing. So I think if they can just solve this little problem that I had here when I died due to the sudden freeze of the animation when I landed on the pad, I think that will make a very enjoyable game experience, worth getting back to PlanetSide. So that was all for this time. Thank you for watching, and see you maybe in some other videos if I start playing again. Bye.